Hi, I'm Abby Murphy, Assistant Photo Editor at The Tower Light.
And I'm Devorah Roberts, Assistant Video Producer at The Tower Light. Unfortunately, Darylee couldn't be here today, so I'm filling in for her. Good luck on your essay.
Okay, so this week's episode was, oh my gosh, it was phenomenal.
I didn't watch last week's episode, unfortunately, but when I came back into this, I was like, oh my gosh, this is wonderful.
Okay, yeah, there's a lot to say about this episode, but it was just, from the beginning, we got to enter with Floki, so you know it's going to be a good episode.
Like, hey, Floki's the messenger now, I guess? And then...
And there was a lot of emphasis on the Seer's prophecy, with the Earl being all like, if I kill Ragnar in combat, that means it's all going to be good, right?
Yeah, but that doesn't happen.
It was really interesting. Vikings it kind of misleads you a little bit, because I really thought that the duel would be the climax of this week's episode, but then it was like, it wasn't even, and it just kept getting so much more intense.
But first, before we even get to the duel, let's talk about the lead up to that, because just the duel in itself was kind of almost, I guess, like Ragnar was almost stepping out of his boundaries by doing this. Yeah,
it has a lot to do, because I did read up on the different types of Viking duels, which obviously had a lot to do with honor and defending honor. This was definitely one of such cases, and this was single combat, which is, I don't know how to say this, but it's Einvigi, it's Einvigi, and it's a certain type of duel that I read about, and it's the kind of one that is more apt to starting blood feuds, because the whole kind of thing, it's not like fencing or some kind of duel bound by honor, but it's one where two guys just fight it out using whatever weapons they have. But because of that, one of them's gonna die, and then somebody else could be entitled to try and take vengeance or try to get weregild or blood money, or man gold, literally, for the death. So I anticipate there's going to be some conflict in the future about that duel.
Yeah.
But the duel itself was really, really cool to watch. I was on the edge of my seat.
I mean, yeah, that was an intense fight.
Yeah, especially because I was worried about Ragnar because of his leg.
Yeah, like the whole time, like first Ragnar loses his sword, and then it's just down to him and his shield, and then the Earl still has his sword and his shield, and we're like, is Ragnar even gonna win this?
But then he just kind of throws his weapons away, the Earl, because he really wants to be Ragnar.
Yeah, but like first they got the axes out after they dropped their swords.
Because they decided to switch to axes because that's more fun.
And then the axes go. Or, no, the axes don't go.
Well, go in a sense as in kill him.
Then it's suddenly like, oh, the Earl's winning. The Earl's winning. Wait, no, the Earl has an axe in his back.
Plot twist. Didn't see that one coming. Got rid of that antagonist rather quickly. Not quickly, but we got rid of him.
So yeah, then it's just kind of like, wow, Ragnar won?
Yeah.
And now he kind of gets to step up to be the Earl.
Yeah, it was really interesting to see that. All of a sudden he's the Earl, and Siggy, I thought it was really cool that Siggy kind of took the lead and started cheering him on, Earl Ragnar, Earl Ragnar. She was the first one to actually say it.
Doesn't work out much for her later though.
Yeah, it doesn't help her later, but...
We'll get to that.
Yeah. We were both saying some interesting parallels with the Earl, as you know, before he meets his demise. We were saying he kind of reminded us of Hrothgar from Beowulf. Kind of the old king, kind of dying out. He's trying to hold on to things.
I think it's going to be interesting to see how Ragnar takes the leadership position and how they're going to parallel that to the Earl and how he did. And
because they both respected each other.
Oh yeah, the Earl even said that in this.
Yeah, and then Ragnar wanted to give him this, like Athelstan's like, why are you giving this guy such a great funeral? It's like, oh, I respected him, he was a great man.
There was this one scene before the duel that I thought was just amazingly done. It was just the family, and it was like right before the duel.
Oh my gosh.
And there was just complete silence.
Yeah, it didn't seem out of place at all.
It was just, there's really something to be said when a show can not put any dialogue in and just have the actors look at each other and say more than anything than they could have. It was really well done, and I really loved the scene.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Abby worries about Athelstan's hair.
I don't worry about it. It's interesting. He's really starting to assimilate into Viking society. Like, he's growing his hair out. I'm like, what are you wearing? Like, he's wearing like these different kind of robes, and he had a little cloak thing going on, which was really cool looking. At the end of the episode, he's definitely trying to fit into the Viking world more and more, which is really interesting. Kind of joining the chants, joining the drinking, Bjorn bullying him, which I didn't appreciate that.
Yeah.
But the Earl, speaking of that scene that Athelstan was so upset about, with this angel of death and this kind of slave woman who's been chosen to go with the Earl to the death, which is something that's not uncommon in different ancient societies, of course. You see it all the way back in Mesopotamia. But
it's just
this scene.
To see the Angel of Death in person on a screen, so to see something like that characterized and personified on a show is very unsettling.
Yeah, it was a really interesting part of their religion that they the way the Vikings react to it, like it's just a normal part of the religion, whereas Athelstan is just, he doesn't want to look. It's just not something he believes that as a human you should see. And it was just, that scene was just very interesting, especially how it was filmed. It was all kind of through Athelstan's perspective. Again, you could kind of see how he's supposed to be the eyes of the viewer in this strange society. Like, it's a funeral, and it's a festival of sorts. They're all celebrating and kind of fighting and drinking, and it's all kind of hazy because he's been drinking, and he's just very confused. And that was a really good scene.
The filming for that also, it was very muted colors, very toned down audio. Like, everything seemed to be very echoey, which I guess is what, like you said earlier, was all from Athelstan's point of view, also because he was drinking. He got hella drunk. Let's be real here. Yeah. He did not seem happy.
No, he did not. Yeah, neither did Siggy when Ragnar does not let her light the funeral pyre. Oh man, there are definitely going to be no repercussions about that.
Yeah, like, earlier, it seemed such a slap in the face, too.
It really did, because she was right there to support him at the very beginning, and he just brushed her off. It's like, it's my reign now.
I mean, I didn't like her at all. I thought she was kind of a spider working from behind.
Yeah, she does.
But she seems almost pitiful now. Well, until...
Yeah, though I was, all the points for her for killing her daughter's husband. She definitely, she's smart. She has everything lined up. She's like, okay, my husband dies, we're killing off my daughter's husband, we're gonna go get away, which I think is the smartest thing to do.
Get some gold, get out of here. They seem to be setting up Rollo as the new antagonist. I mean, at first...
Who did not see that coming?
I mean, I wasn't completely sure, in all honesty, because...
Yeah, it kept going, I keep going back and forth throughout the show.
Because in the beginning, we have the first episode where he's, like, ready to rape Lagartha. And then, like, a couple episodes later, he's all for helping Ragnar out, getting rid of the Earl.
He definitely seems to have an agenda. He kind of goes wherever he thinks it'll make his life easier. Because it's like, he's like, oh, Ragnar can take care of the Earl for me, then I can take care of Ragnar.
But I think by this episode, they've clearly set in stone that Rollo will be the new antagonist as we come up on the next couple episodes, besides the other outside conflicts that are coming.
Lagartha's pregnant.
I know, I'm so excited.
That was the interesting parallels. It's like in the middle of this funeral, she's like, by the way, I'm pregnant.
It was a very life and death thing.
Life and death, exactly.
I wish they had more of Lagartha.
That would have made this episode perfect.
She seemed very unamused.
She was very interesting. I really like to see what she actually thinks of Ragnar being the Earl, because at the beginning she just wanted to get away. We can live just as well anywhere else. She doesn't really want that kind of fame for Ragnar. I think she kind of wants to keep him, a simpler life, but there's less conflict. She can definitely see that they're gonna run into issues.
Yeah, but Ragnar seems to be having a pretty swell time.
Yeah, well, until, the end of the episode when we get to see, King I know it's Aelle. I don't know how to say his name, but the king of Northumbria, where Athelstan and Lindisfarne Monastery is, they're talking about Ragnar again. Of course, I've read Ragnar's saga. Spoiler alert. In the saga, Ragnar, he actually gets his nickname Ragnar Lothbrok, Ragnar Shaggy Breeches, from the breeches that he wears that protects him from these snakes for a brief period of time or something like that. But, he ends up dying in this pit of snakes that the king, however you say his name, throws him in.
So obviously this is a kind of fictional show, but it's still historical.
It's drawing from this legend, so it's kind of...
Yeah, so I'll be interested to see if they'll have the actual bloody ending with Ragnar dying, or they might go for the Disney death, or not the Disney death, the Disney ending, where Ragnar heroically triumphs over.
That'd be interesting, because they've definitely been drawing from the legends and the historical background, but they haven't been following it strictly at all. Yeah, they could definitely draw on kind of focus on Ragnar's sons and everything, possibly, but I don't know. That's something for an entirely different episode once the season's over. But anyway, this episode was just really good. A lot of foreshadowing and everything. Talking about Ragnarok, always a fun time.
The prophecy.
Yeah.
One last thing. The prophecy, Odin's prophet comes out, and we get this Ragnar.
He was talking about Ragnarok, the end of the world.
And we get a very, that was just some trippy stuff. Very trippy filming.
Yeah, Athelstan was not expecting that bedtime story.
And yeah, like Abby said, we get Ragnarok, the story of Ragnarok. And it was just
that very intense way to end an episode. Well, it was sort of on the episode, then they end with the boat again. Another boat and pit of snakes.
Well, you know, start how you go, keep it consistent, keep the boats going on. For the next episode, looking to the future, lots of Rollo.
Definitely lots of Rollo. Be interested to see how they kind of draw on the king, see what he does.
Hopefully there will be more Lagartha.
I demand it.
There just wasn't enough. And she was
such
such a
looking
great actress.
I love Catherine Winnick, and she was looking great in her outfits this episode.
Yeah, if you're talking about Athelstan and his weird outfits, let's talk about how badass Lagartha looks just strutting next to Ragnar, like, about me. Great for this episode. I say A-.
Agreed. A-.
I would give it an A+, but Lagartha.
Needs more Lagartha.
Because Catherine Winnick is just such a great actress.
But we digress. It was just a really great episode, and yeah.
By the way, we're renewed! Yay! Sorry guys, didn't even mention that yet.
Yeah, Vikings got renewed for season 2, which I'm really excited about.
Anyway, for the Tower Light, I'm Devorah Roberts.
And I'm Abby Murphy.
And we'll see you next week.